Well, Jim Cameron, how nice to be able to talk with you because I have been tracking the abyss for some time because I have had a great fascination with this picture. As a kid, I always loved submarine pictures. Still do, still do. Jim, I love movies that take me places I've never been, and in this case, where I'm never going.
I never want to go.
Never want to
But
go.
now you don't have to.
I don't have
We
to.
went there for you.
Exactly. And what just absolutely thrilling experience it was for me.
But isn't that really what films are supposed to do? I mean, they're supposed to take you someplace that you either can never go, or don't want to, but want to experience some of it, through someone else's eyes or through another character, and also to take you into emotional places that you haven't been, so that you can kind of see if all your emotional parts are working properly. That's what I think films have to do, that visually and emotionally, take you somewhere.
One thing about the picture that I didn't know about, and maybe you had kept it under wraps purposely, the movie they're not even oblique, they're very overt references and comparisons with E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. So now, you had to do that on purpose.
No, not necessarily. I grew up reading science fiction, and when I was in high school, I wrote a short story called The Abyss, and it was kind of the nucleus of this movie. And I've always been fascinated with the concept of contact with another intelligence, not necessarily a superior intelligence or whatever, just another intelligence, a non-human intelligence, which is what I call them in the films, non-terrestrial intelligences, NTIs. And that's always fascinated me. So the popularity of these other films, I think, just shows that it's part of our group consciousness, that we feel that there's something else out there, or we want to wish that there's something else out there. Now, the way I'm using it in this film is that this contact redefines us in a way. We get to look at ourselves through their eyes and see whether we come up lacking or whether we're judged well in that light. And you'll have to see the film to see how that works out. But
will you be offended if people want to compare your film with E.T., or maybe even if they make some unfavorable comparison between The Abyss and E.T. and Close Encounters?
No, I think they're both wonderful films, but I think that they're very different films. E.T. takes place in a suburban environment and so on. I also think that like those films, the idea of an extraterrestrial being isn't as important as the people. I mean, we're not trying to. I don't think any science fiction film is ever trying to say what it will really be like in the future. The only thing it's trying to do is get us to experience emotions and ask ourselves, what if certain things were possible? What would I do in that situation? How would I feel? That type of question. It's always about the people, not about the other guys. Whether it's compared favorably or unfavorably, to me, is really quite irrelevant. This is the film that I wanted to make. It's a film that I've wanted to make since before those other films existed. If the kind of the feeling created by those films feeds into this one, fine. That's great. All the better.
Jim, I told you I've been tracking the film for some time and reading about everything that everybody went through filming underwater and the many, many problems you had. Was it necessary to go to all that?
Well, I think so. I think, I mean, obviously I thought so because that's the way I did it. So you're asking the wrong person. I believe that people will invest in a film more if they feel the sense of reality coming out of the movie at them. The reality comes from the actors. If the actors make you believe that they individually are that person, that they really work on an oil rig and that they're really underwater, and they sell that idea to you, you'll believe it. But part of it is also production design, the building of the sets, and the fact that we actually shot underwater. It just comes out of the film constantly that you're really in that environment. You can't escape it. You are there. You can't go away, even if you want to. And I think the film, in a way, wants to hold you captive in that environment for a period of time and kind of work its magic. That's the idea. That's the thinking, anyway.
Did you personally put yourself through everything the actors have to go through?
Yeah, I pretty much try everything first. I find that people are more willing to try things if they see me do it first, because I'm kind of a wuss, you know. So if they see me doing it first, then they think, oh well, you know, you don't have to be some gnarly stuntman to try that. I can try that, you know. And in the case of Ed Harris, who's a real athlete and very game to do almost anything, you know. But I would also try it for my own edification to make sure it's safe. It's just the way I work. Before I had Ed Harris put his hand in the hydraulic door, I put my hand in the hydraulic door to see if it would stop where it was supposed to stop, and it did. You know, I just think that that's something that I have to do. I have to interpose myself in harm's way first, and as a demonstration to the actors that it is safe, that it has been thought out, because they can have some special effects guy explaining it to them all day long, but the special effects guy doesn't stand in there and do it. You know, it's the actor that has to do it. And I'm asking them to do something that really is above and beyond the call of duty for an actor, you know.
Had you ever had any experience with underwater diving or anything like that?
Well, I've been a diver for 18 years.
Oh,
and
so
I've
you were not a
spent a lot
great
of
home.
time
Yeah.
underwater, yeah. And I've had the experience before this film of taking people into that world, you know, convincing people to learn how to dive, going with them, not as an instructor myself, but seeing it happen, seeing them experience that world for the first time. And so I knew that it would work. I knew that I could take people who had never dived, and none of these cast members had dived before, take them into that world and kind of get them hooked on the environment, and then I could take them into a working environment, you know, where we have controlled conditions. And even though that would be much harder, because you're working, you're trying to perform, you're trying to do all the things you normally do on a soundstage, now underwater, I knew they could do it. You know, I had just seen it happen too many times.